It's 9:09. Coming up on Good Day Atlanta, the Earth consists of nearly 330 trillion gallons of water. But when it comes to your drinking water, what's the best option? Up next, water expert and founder of OriginClear, Riggs Eckelberry, is here with which one is right for you. Welcome back. Well, purified, distilled, sparkling, so many more. There are lots of options when it comes to water. So what should you be drinking and what should we avoid? Water expert and founder of OriginClear, Riggs Eckelberry, is joining us now with some answers. Welcome. It's good to have you here.
Such a pleasure, Alyse. Thank you.
It's not often that we have, I told you, a water expert in our presence, so we're going to take advantage of this in a really big way. So World Water Day, I want to mention that's March 22nd, so some really good timing for us to cover this. Let's start with a kind of water that's common. We seem to see it a lot on grocery store shelves and, you know, maybe even in restaurants. Sparkling water, pros and cons.
Well, sparkling water is basically water that's had CO2 added, right? So I don't consider, you need to go below and think about what's the quality of the water itself. But sparkling's great. Okay. You can digest better. That's the benefit.
Okay. What about spring water?
Well, spring water, that's a commercial term, so you got to watch out. Generally, it means that it's water that has come from a spring, it's been purified, which is good because it still has the minerals.
Okay, it's good to know. Listen, you're already teaching me that. I didn't know. You see the word, right? And you're like, oh, okay. We trust you. Tap water, what we have in our homes.
Okay, now, this is long before your time, but I grew up when you could drink the tap water. I don't think that's true anymore. It's not that it'll kill you because the cities do a great job of getting the chlorine, with chlorine, getting the bacteria out. But we have industrial toxins. And so generally for you and your pets, long-term drinking of tap water is not recommended.
Wow. Okay, so then what is? Now, are you talking about just, what we're seeing in the video? You turn on your sink, you run the water, just that. But what about like water that's coming out of our refrigerator? Are you considering that tap water or has that gone through a process?
Well, there's a filter usually on your fridge. Yeah. And so it's been somewhat filtered. Look, any improvement's good, right? You want to be able to have, for example, one of these filter pitchers are useful for your water. Also, there's those gravity-fed tanks, the silver tanks that you can put on your counter with these carbon filters. They're great. You can do a lot with a small budget. You can do fancy stuff, with under sink. It's called reverse osmosis, and that's what this is. Basically, they took water and they ran it through with reverse osmosis, which is basically forcing water through a very heavy filter. And they added minerals back in. And that's key. You want the minerals back in the water.
So what kind of water is this then? Like what do they call that once they do that?
It's a brand, but what it is pH balanced, purified water. And there's a lot of these brands.
Would that be like smart water? Would that be one? Or what would be
smart water is similar because electrolytes. You want to have the minerals in the water. For example, distilled water is great, except it's got nothing in it. It's dead water. Okay. So if you do drink distilled water, you're safe, but you'd better take your minerals somehow.
Oh, right? Okay, that makes sense. So I just want to be clear on this. So you're saying that as a water expert and someone who, you do this for a living, you wouldn't go to your sink, pour yourself a big old glass of water and drink that water in that way.
Well, I flew up here last night and I did, when I was taking my vitamins this morning, I did drink from the tap. It's not going to kill you. Yeah. I'm talking about years of habit should not be on the tap water. Now, we have a problem in America because now you're having to pay, in addition to your water supply, you're having to pay for it to be filtered. Right. It's too bad. But as I say, there's simple things you can do. We, for example, we work at the industrial level. My company, OriginClear, does whole hotels, for example. And increasingly, the hotels are realizing that guests want to have purified water, not just that bottle on the dresser, but in the shower, because toxins come in through your skin. Right? Also in the kitchen when they make the food, the whole hotel. So increasingly we're thinking about every single way that you drink water.
That's interesting. That really is. I never thought about those other aspects. The shower part of it, right? Like, I guess that does make a difference. and the water that's coming out of there. So that's really good to know. Okay, so you mentioned vitamin water. We talked about that. Did we talk about purified water?
Yeah, this is purified water.
Okay, so that's the one.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, I mean, what are some other things, though, that we can do to, because everybody doesn't have access, right, to be able to buy, you know, some fancy water. What are some small things that we can do to make a difference in just having healthier water?
Okay, for starters, let's get away from plastic bottled water. First of all, bottled water itself is a very energy intensive and cost intensive process. There's a lot of markup. You're basically being ripped off, right? As soon as possible, you should try and get your own reusable glass or metal bottle and fill it with good water. Now, where does that good water come from? Well, here's a source. For example, Brita and other manufacturers make a bottle that has a built-in filter. Great. Now you can either use this as is or pour this into your reusable bottle. The important thing is to try and get away from the plastic.
Okay, and then when you have those things with filters, you got to change the filters. I think the light's been on my refrigerator for, it's been a couple weeks, so I got to make sure you do that. Okay, days.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to say, just a few days. But that matters.
Eventually it does matter, but here's the thing. Anything you do is good. For example, put one of those water pitchers on your counter, fill it, and just pour from it. That's all you got to do, really, right?
Yeah.
It's not a giant thing. If you can, try and get one of those under sink systems. It's $600-700. Well worth it, because that's that little tap that comes out of your sink, and that's reverse osmosis water. It's very pure, and it's included in it is a remineralizer to put the minerals back in. Got to have that, right? So that is a good solution. And also, I was recommended to put a filter on my shower, a shower filter. There's a brand called Promax, which is what I used, and it takes out the Roundup, for example, which is not good in long term. So little things like that solve a lot of problems.
Good to know. And then obviously, as far as drinking it, make sure you're getting enough of it. But that's a conversation for another day.
No matter what, drink a lot of water. I agree.
All right. All ahead of National Water Day on March 22nd. Riggs Eckelberry with OriginClear, thank you so much for coming in and for breaking some of this down for us. It's been helpful. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Alyse. I appreciate it.
Pleasure to meet you. And if you'd like more information, because we've covered a lot, so if you want to see some more about this, you can head to our website, fox5atlanta.com. Just look for the story under the Good Day section.